I have prepared a presentation which seems to give just a bit of a context of South Africa, how our water rights, some facts and governance issues, climate, impact, women, how do we develop skills, some COVID-19 issues which have also brought a spanner into the water problems, I think, worldwide, and I will conclude. Just briefly, I wouldn't go in depth too much, but we mainly in South Africa have 3 tiers of governance which regulates water. We have a Department of Water and Sanitation, which is our national security supply mandated by our Water Act and is headed by Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, with a Deputy Minister also. They have got about 10 water boards in the country, which are spread across 9 provinces. They are responsible for bulk supply. So this is our bulk providers on the 2nd tier. Now we are at the 3rd level. We are the ones who send water into the tap of a household or of industries and whatever. So the 1st tier and 2nd tier, as you can see, they are in control of the dams and the large bulk scale of purification and sent to municipalities who are only running wastewater treatment plants. I wouldn't take much, but I've also tried to show that almost 62% of our water user rights are still with the food security part of our national development plan, which means the irrigation, the agriculture takes about 62% of what collectively these 10 boards oversee. And then, of course, there's 3% of afforestation, there's 2% of power, industries, mining, rural areas, which due to infrastructure still have got a problem. In fact, that figure should have moved with time to share with the urban, which is still at 24. On the other side, I was just showing our source of water, and one big challenge there is that we still are lacking in water conservation. You know, Africa is blessed with good rains, but all of it gets to be washed away and get lost in the system. Now, just briefly here, we are showing where do our powers come from. The Constitution ensures, which was adopted in 1996, the Bill of Rights, which says each and everyone, amongst others, has a right to access to water and a clean environment. Now, this Bill of Rights then goes on to say the water sector needs to also, from a municipal point of view, provide free basic water and sanitation to poor people. So progress to date, which was measured in 2018 by Stats SA. Stats SA is our South African body which does the counts on every 5-year basis to inform and prepare for elections, but also perform for the next term of elections, which will need to get the statistics on what is the status quo of the country. So we have got 84% of people with access to water, about 75% access to sanitation, but we still have a lot of people, around 3.1 million in rural areas, who do not have access to any of the two in a sustainable manner that government gives. So our 2030 vision enforces that we need to ensure that there's sustainable management and water provision for all. In these statistics in the map, I was just trying to break down on our provinces. You will see that rural areas, for example, blue, on top there is the Western Cape, red at the bottom is the Eastern Cape, traditionally and mostly rural. Green there is the Northern Cape. So I was just showing which provinces are mostly affected. So a lot of people in the Western Cape, in Gauteng, where your city of Johannesburg is, have got access to water. infrastructure and the funding instruments for municipalities, now I'm getting down. You see the picture which I've put there just shows how rural people get water. They don't receive it in the household. They go in a particular corner to collect the water. And then the structure there of a toilet and sanitation, when I'm saying they're not receiving it properly, these are makeshift structures that they do themselves as families, dig a hole so that they are able to receive, to relieve themselves. So we've got two types of funding, because the third one on tariffs is not each and every municipality which is able to structure that. So the municipal infrastructure grants comes directly from National Assembly, which means the Minister of Finance promulgate and gazette a budget and give each and every municipality a grant. This is to assist municipalities to put infrastructure, mainly in the form of pipelines and household connection, to reduce the burden that women faces in rural areas to go to the river to collect water. So this is to subsidize the poor operational, or rather capital budget, CAPEX, that municipalities have. Then you also have what we call equitable share. Equitable share is informed by states' SA census. It means it's the land, population, and everything that is within it. So a municipality, for example, municipality A will have 1 million residents. So the equitable share will be informed by the number of those people who have been assessed during census, what is their economic level, do they need subsidy, etc. And then that equitable share goes to those municipalities. A tariff is what municipalities are allowed to charge, but they may not be able to charge in rural areas. The climate change, as we all know it, the biodiversity and the ecosystems. There's a decline in terms of care, there's environmental damage. There's water insecurity, droughts, for example, in the Northern Cape, as we are talking, there's no water. And there's also food insecurity, which also happens due to migration. The story which we want today is here. Access. Women are more marginalized in group communities, whether it's in urban or rural. Western rural, where they are time and in informal settlements, becomes vulnerable. There are extreme weather conditions like flood, but there's also droughts, which is also climate related. But then what does that mean? It means this woman is in danger. She has to go to the river to pick up water. Isolated rural areas, they got raped, in some instances get killed. They can't go and look for a job because they spend time in trying to run a household. But what does UCLG say? It says the bridge for science and policy gap is high in terms of inclusion for sustainable development, with gender-sensitive programs and activities that will make sure that we find solutions that creates economic opportunities for women, ensures proper spatial development in terms of transportation, residing closer to your area of work so that women have got more time in their hands. The skills grant which we receive, you can see the pictures there of young people in training, both at the technical and capacity level, and young people in particular. So the vulnerable communities, with regard to the investment that we have, for example, in COVID-19, was 400 million for the financial year that we are in. And it mostly went to vulnerable communities. You could see a JoJo tank there. So what we do as a municipality will go every week or every day and fill up the tank with water from a truck, or we run a borehole and connect about 100 tanks into it and fill them in the morning and in the evening. So which means community collaboration is key. They've got to put a roster to ensure that everybody receives the liquor that is there. So there have been a lot of strength that we learned from COVID because of collaborations that government have been forced. We still struggle with a lot of silo mentality, but all these issues have forced us to collaborate to fight the spread of the virus and ensure that particularly women are consulted, they are supported in running their water cycle workforce to make sure that all the sustainability of the programs that are introduced by government are sound. Program director, if you allow me, I won't talk much into this, but it was mostly about trying to indicate that there are programs which we are running, which are informed from the United Nations, which work with the UCLG, which is United Cities of Local Governments, to ensure that the fiscal framework and the policy mix what the pandemic has given us, but also ensure that climate change is brought into the table for the relief and the equip of women to be able to do what they are supposed to do with their time and drive their economic programs. Thank you. I seem to have taken more than I was given. My apologies.